Upgrades. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Today, I'm bringing you a review of an Amazon film starring possibly the most famous rapper in the world that I didn't know much about and left pleasantly surprised with, and that is the Underdoggs. And here's a quick synopsis. Former NFL player 2J's Jennings agrees to coach a youth football team in order to avoid a prison sentence as he tries to relaunch his career. And it stars Snoop Dogg as 2J's, Tika Sumpter, George Lopez, Andrew Schultz, and Mike Epps, and is directed by Charles Stone III. So, first, if you have been waiting to see a film that is extremely vulgar but is disguised as a kid's movie, a little worse than Bad News Bears, in the range with language-wise of Bad Santa, and starring Snoop, this is the movie for you. Because this movie has all of those elements in it. As we're introduced to the characters 2J's, played by Snoop Dogg, as this hotshot Terrell Owens type of receiver, where he kind of alienates a lot of his teammates. He's Mr. I'm everything. I'm the most important person in the world. And at the beginning of it, we see that he went from being extremely high to extremely low as his career ended and his public perception completely changes. And then we get the unnecessary setup of him putting himself in a situation that leads to him having to be in front of a judge, and that judge sentences him to community service. And from there, the script writes itself. We know how this goes. A guy who's down on his luck or who's bad and who needs some form of redemption manages to take over a youth team of some sport. Mighty Ducks, again, Bad News Bears, Hardball with Keanu Reeves. Like, we've seen this story so many times. So that's why it's not as bothersome as it could have been if this was something wholly original. Because while I say I'm saying it's disguised as a kid's movie, and the reason I'm saying that is because I don't think anyone under the age of 13, and maybe 13 is even pushing it if you have not had conversations with your kids about language, should watch this movie. Part of the issue with Underdogs is that I don't know the audience for this film. It presents itself completely like a kid's film. But it is so much language and so many other stuff in here that I don't think a lot of parents are going to be comfortable with their kids seeing. But yet again, it's still starring Snoop Dogg. So you kind of know what you're getting into when you watch this film. But the plot is just so formulaic that you kind of wonder. And because it's formulaic in the sense of the sports redemption kids film, you kind of wonder, is this going to be something that even older teenagers are going to attach themselves to as an audience and want to watch this film? I don't know that. All I know is that while I couldn't understand the audience for the film has enough entertaining points that maybe some parents are going to risk it to have their kids watch this. But as it just pertains to the setup, the performance, and everything of that nature, again, it's something you've seen before. It's nothing original. The best part of it is possibly Charles Stone III, who does an amazing job of directing this film. Like, you believe these characters, even when they say stuff out of their mouth that makes absolutely no sense. And here we get Snoop Dogg in a role that we've not really seen him in before on screen, as he's been very limited on the films that he's done. I'm just trying to think of the top of my head, and Bones immediately popped into my mind, and Mac and Wild, the one he did with Wiz Khalifa, popped into my mind. So we haven't seen Snoop a lot on screen. But here, him playing this type of character, it's kind of unbelievable that this type of person would ever exist in the world, but it works because in the end, Snoop is as charismatic as he is when he's rapping, when he's on stage, when he's with Martha Stewart. He's the same way on screen. So at times it leads you to believe the character even more. As it pertains to the supporting cast here, which is Tika Sumpter, gets nothing to do in this film. She plays the bargain basement mom, trouble kid. 2J's is helping, former love interest, all of those rolled into one. We get Mike Epps, who just plays the tag along friend. Again, we've seen this in these type of films. And like George Lopez is this like the advisor, the one he looked up to, the one who could help him redeem himself. It's like they just took all the characters from all of these prior movies, put them here, and said, "Hey, I think this can work." And for the most part, it doesn't. But when it does work, when the movie is good, it is extremely enjoyable. And amazingly, it's enjoyable in the moments where Snoop and the kids aren't repeatedly cussing. Like that is when this film is at its best, when you get to see the bonding between Snoop's character 2J's and the children. When you get to see that bonding, that's when this film really transforms to something different, a little more than what you would expect out of it. But the moment they start opening their mouths and start cursing again, then you're drawn right back into the gutter of it, and then you kind of wondering, should I continue this or can I just turn it off now? Because I felt that way a couple of times while watching it just because of the language. But you stick around for the relationship that we see with the children here. And it's not that any of the children necessarily stick out as characters. What happens is Snoop's character sticks out as he bonds with each kid individually. Like down to, we have a scene where he brings jerseys for the kids and he gives nicknames to all the kids on the back of their jerseys. It's some vulgar nicknames on the back of the jerseys also, but it works as a way of bonding him with the kids, and that's what you're here to see. And I think a lot of it comes from Snoop's actual life, that he actually had a youth football league, a youth football team, that he cared dearly for those players, still does, I believe, to this day. And when you get to see him bond with kids and you get to see that element of the film, I think that plays more into the actual real life of Snoop. And as you're watching it, it just gets so formulaic into the setup, the execution, down to the evil team with the evil coaches played by Andrew Schultz that they must beat at the end. Like it's every setup humanly possible that you normally see in these sports dramas. Again, you're just here to see Snoop, and Snoop as he bonds with each of these children. That is an amazing moment of this film. But you're gonna have to get through a lot of cursing. You're going to have to get a lot of moments that should not be seen by any child under the age of 13 in this film. But if you could get past those, I think the film has a good message. The only thing and the biggest impression it left me with afterwards is me wishing this could have been a film about Snoop's actual life, because this is something that he actually did. And I think instead of going the complete comedic route, you could have gotten a comedic type drama-esque film and just based it literally just off of Snoop, the real person. And you could have gotten a better film than this. But instead, you're left with what feels like a Bad News Bears ripoff, a Hardball sequel, or any of those type of kid sports films. If you like them, if you don't mind extremely vulgar language, this could be for you. Maybe this is a film that you can feel comfortable watching with your children if this is not something that you think would shock them. So, Underdoggs, brought to you by Amazon and MGM. Out of a possible 10, I'm going to give Underdoggs a 5 out of 10. Again, you're here for Snoop in scenes where he's completely bonding with the kids. It's one scene in particular where a kid lives in a neighborhood he's ashamed of. And the way they shot the scene, the way Charles Stone shoots that scene with Snoop and that kid as they're in the car, and he's relaying to the kid, like, I grew up in the same neighborhood as you. They did the same thing. I understand what you're trying to do because you're ashamed of where you live in that. But it's in that moment that you get a sense that, man, this film could be great. Because that's what it needs, and that's what it delivers, but just not enough to keep you engaged throughout the entire film. Instead, it goes right back to the slapstick type-esque comedy with the unnecessary language at times, bad jokes that don't land, things of that nature. But when you get to the dramedy moments of it, this really works, whether it be Snoop with the kids or it's him and Tika Sumpter on certain occasions in this film. And definitely some of the conversations he has with George Lopez, who plays his old high school coach. Those are the moments that make this film feel like it can be really good. But again, as long as you get through everything else, you'll enjoy those moments. But check it out. It drops Friday the 26th. Let us know what you think. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.